Unit 1, Section 3, Part 2, the distance formula. We separated these into two different videos because, they're different things. One is about midpoint, one is about total distance. So if the midpoint AB is M, of AB is M, so we got from A to B, and M, the midpoint's in the middle, 1, 6. And A is at -2, 1. Then find B. Again, I like counting better than I like mathing for this direction. I like drawing the little picture of it. From -2 to 1, -2 to 0 is 2. Up more 1 is +3, so we got to add 3. 1 plus 3 is 4. From 1 to 6, we added 5. So when we go up, we're going to add 5 more. 6 plus 5 is 11. So B is at 411. All right, that's midpoint formula that we were working there. That's the weird point form of midpoint. Don't forget that midpoint proper is x plus x divided by 2, y plus y divided by 2. Doesn't really matter because they're adding which one is 1 and which one is 2. It's just put the x's, divide by 2, put the y's, divide by 2. Learning goal, I will be able to use the distance formula and sub to that, memorize the distance formula because you're going to need it on the quiz and the test. All right. The distance formula is used to find the distance between 2 points. That's pretty self-explanatory. It's called a distance formula and it finds distance. Buckle up. Here's the formula. D, little d for distance, equals the square root of everything underneath, okay, x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. This is just like what we talked about. This is just like slope. If we talk about slope, the x2 and the x1, the y2 and the y1, that doesn't matter the order particularly. It doesn't matter which point's the 2 point, which point's the 1 point. It matters that they match up. So whenever you write this equation, the x-coordinate and the y-coordinate from one coordinate have to be the first. And then the x-coordinate and the y-coordinate from the other point have to be last. Doesn't matter which one's 1 and which one's 2. Okay? So I do this formula very much like a fill in the blank. And I do an x and then a y, and then I do an x and a y. It's alphabetical just like a coordinate, x then y. The x's go together, the y's go together, and it doesn't really matter which way you subtract them. But the minus sign is there and is important. If it's a negative number, it's minus, which is going to turn it into plus. But D equals the square root of x minus x squared plus y minus y squared. Please know, when you square, always turns positive. Okay? Always turns positive. Because a negative times a negative is a positive. I don't care what your calculator says. Type it right. Okay? So we're going to find the distance between 2 points on the graph. Well, this far to that far. If it was horizontal, it'd be easy. We'd count it. If it was vertical, it'd be easy. We would count it. But this is not. Okay? This is going to get into our geometry later because later we're going to turn this into a 90-degree triangle, and it is related. You may have heard of something like a squared plus b squared equals c squared, right? A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Well, A is the up and down part, and B is the left and right part, and C is the diagonal part. Okay, I labeled them kind of backwards because, whatever, but this is like your y minus y squared plus x minus x squared equals d squared. And to undo square, okay, the opposite of square is square root. Opposite of x squared is square root x. Opposite of square is square root. So if we square root both sides, then we get the distance formula. Okay. So we're going to say d equals the square root of parenthesis squared plus parenthesis squared minus. That's the formula. You write it down like that every time, and we're going to fill in the blank. Okay. We need an x and a y and an x and a y. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, negative 5, comma, 1, 2, 3. Negative 5, 3. 1, 2, negative 2, comma, 1, 2, 3. Negative 3. Make sure you get your negs on there. First coordinate, negative 5, 3. So I put the x in for x. I put the y in for y. Next coordinate, I put the x in for x. I put the y in for y. Negative, negative goes positive. Negative, negative goes positive. D equals the square root of negative 5 plus 2 is negative 3 squared plus 3 is 6 squared. Square root of 9 plus 36. Let's see, 9 plus 36 is 45. Okay. And that can be simplified. Now we got to talk about simplifying square roots. Okay. We're going to do factor tree. What multiplies to be 45? Well, 9 and 5. And what multiplies to be 9? 3 and 3. When we're doing a square root, we want to know what number is being squared, or what number is times itself. We're looking for groups of 2. So once I break the tree, that number is now over, and then I had 9 and 5. Now the 5 is stuck because 5 only multiplies by 5 and 1. But 9 could be 3 times 3, so I break it apart. So now I have a 3 times a 3 times a 5. Which one is times itself? The 3 is. That actually gets to come out. So D equals 3, and then the 5 has to stay in. So D would equal 3 square roots of 5. Or if we did it in a calculator, right, we could do the square root of 45, and it's approximately 6.7. Okay, so D is, now we do squiggly equals if we're not exact, 6.7. Now they didn't say round it, so I would rather you give me the exact answer instead of rounding the answer. But we'll see how it goes. Find A to B if A is this and B is that. Well, let's just plug it in the distance formula. D equals the square root of parenthesis squared plus parenthesis squared minus. X goes in one, Y goes in the other. X goes in one, Y goes in the other. That becomes plus. That gets more negative. The square root of negative 4 and negative 3 is negative 7. 1 plus 1 is 2. That's now 49, because that's 7 squared, and plus 4, which makes D equal the square root of 53, which is going to be approximately second square root, 53, 7.28, so we could say 7.3 because they didn't really give us an answer. I'd leave it here, or I would go like that, okay? Your baby calc, the little blue and white or yellow and white or whatever it is colors yours is, it will actually reduce those square roots for you if they are reducible. Let's see, 5 plus 3 is 8, so 3 doesn't go into it. It goes into 51 and 54. 53, I think, is prime, so we're either stuck there or with the 7.3. But that's all you have to do. You just have to know the formula and plug it in. So you got to write it over and over. You got to say it over and over. You got to know what it does. D equals big square root, parenthesis squared plus parenthesis squared minus, x is in one, y is in the other. Okay. All right. Here's a couple. Give it a pause. Try it. Come back. See how it goes. Okay, here we go. Find the distance. D equals the square root of parenthesis plus parenthesis squared minus. Plug all of that up. Then it's a fill in the blank, right? Negative 7, negative 2, x in one, y in the other. Then we do we do 11 and 3. Don't mix them up. If you need to, scratch it off once you plug it in. That way you don't mess it up like I almost did. And we just do the math, one part at a time. right? The square root symbol acts like a parenthesis, so we have to do what's in there first. And then inside that, we have a parenthesis. So PEMDAS says parentheses first. So -7 and -11 is going to be -18 squared plus -2 minus 3 gets more negative, -5. We're not multiplying, we're adding. -5 squared. Doesn't matter that they're negative, because negative times negative is going to be positive. So I know it's going to be positive numbers. I know it's plus 25. What's 18 squared? 324. Mr. Maggart, why didn't you do -18 squared? Because I didn't want to have to do parenthesis -18 parenthesis squared enter. But it's 324 plus 25 equals square root of 349, or approximately, second square root, 349, 18.168. So let's do 18.7, okay? Something like that is what we're looking for. 18.7 is what we should get. Okay. Next one. Ooh, we got to figure them out. But D equals the square root of squared plus squared minus minus. See how I fill that in really quickly, easily every time? It's because I memorized it, man. Get it memorized. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 backwards. -6, comma. 1, 2 down, -2. 1, 2, comma, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, one coordinate, -6, -2. Next coordinate, 2, 7. D equals the square root of parentheses squared plus parentheses squared. -6 minus 2 gets more negative, -8. -2 minus 7 gets more negative, -9. D equals the square root of 64 plus 81. D equals the square root of, is that 145, right? 81, 64, 5, 8, and 14. Yep, 145. And so that is approximately, let's see, square root, 145, 12.0. Why do I put 12.0? Because I am rounding to the tens place, and the tens is a significant number for me. So I need to make sure that the 0 is there. Don't just make it a 12 if it's round to the tens. Or the hundreds, you need 2 places. Even if they're both zeros, what it tells you to round to, round there. Write them both down. Write it down, whatever it takes. Let's see, if we broke 145 apart, I know it divides by 5. I just want to see if we can simplify 145, if it's got any squares in it. Let's see, 145 divided by 5. I know it divides by 5 because it ends in 5. 5 and 29. Those are both prime numbers, so that's as simple as it gets, 145 right there. Let's see, 349. 3 and 4 is 7. 16, 3 doesn't go into it, which means I don't think 9 goes into it. I'm sure it has something that goes into it. 349 divided by 3. Nope. 49 divided by 7. Nope. 8 won't. 8's got to be evens. Maybe a prime number. 6 won't because 2 won't. 4 won't. 5 won't. 7 won't. 8 won't. 9 won't. Oh, I'm trying 349 divided by... Oop, hello. 349 divided by 9. Nope. 10, 11, 12, 13 maybe. Nope. Yep. Don't know the factors of that one, so it's definitely stuck. Okay? But that's all it takes. Learn the formula. D equals square root, parenthesis, parenthesis squared, plus parenthesis, parenthesis squared, minuses in the middles of the parentheses. Plug in the x, plug in the y. Different parentheses. Then plug in the x, plug in the y. Different parentheses. Solve.